In the spirit of the spookiest holiday, I decided to compile my top 10 favorite horror movies, from Insidious to Zombieland. So buckle up, cause these movies are sure to scare your socks off.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
In short, I liked it. Nothing exceptional, but also nothing horrible. But I gotta fill this list somehow. Not as strong as the first one by lacking some of the elements that made the first so good, like the complete lack of trust the two main characters had for each other. But on the other hand, I liked the twist at the end, and all the traps made me squeal. Like that syringe scene, holy shit, what sicko came up with this? But yeah, if I watched more horror movies, it would probably not be on the list. But it kept me entertained, and what more could you ask for?
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
With this movie, I can recognize and understand its critical acclaim. The dark and ominous tone of the movie really helps build intensity, and sheer silence of the movie definitely helps while building atmosphere. But I went into this movie expecting some awesome scares, but they never really happened. Sure, there's a lot of intensity, but all of it builds to nothing most of the time. Maybe it was the limitations of the time, but either way, I still think it deserves to be on the list.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Now this movie barely qualifies as a horror, but I liked it, so I wanted to talk about it anyway, so shut up. This movie's really funny, and it's a fresh take on the zombie formula. Overall, one of the better action comedies of its time that seamlessly combines the horror element into it. My one gripe is that even though Columbus conquers his fears in the end, it's a little infuriating how much of a little bitch this guy is. I would put it higher on the list, but since it barely qualifies, it'll sit nice and comfortable in spot number 8.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
I really like this movie. I always love when movies take risks and try new things, and this movie excels at it. Having two people in a room forced to work together makes this movie a tense and fun experience. I love the twist at the end and all the awesome twists in between. It's just a surprisingly clever horror film that perfectly mixes the horror genre with the mystery genre. There's really nothing else to say about it, and it's just fun. And I would recommend it if you haven't seen it already.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
This movie is fun. The scares are jolting and over the top. Casting is absolutely perfect. Acting is superb. Pennywise is really creepy. And also, this movie is surprisingly funny. There were lots of jokes that made me chuckle a bit. I think the movie is way longer than it has to be, but it did keep me entertained until the end. First one was still better though.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Scream is an awesome satire on horror movies that even still applies today, while still containing everything a classic horror movie should have. These kills are really creative, the twist is awesome, but the one thing I don't like about it is Stuart. He is way too weird to be qualified as a normal human being. Like, I know he's a maniac killer, but how did he get so far in life when he's obviously not normal and clinically insane? But overall, a very solid horror, where the good definitely outweighs the bad.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
This movie is really scary. The guy with the mask scared the shit out of me when I first watched it, but the thing is, I don't think it's a very compelling horror movie. I only put it here because it holds a special place in my heart as the first horror movie I ever saw. So it was important for my transition into an alpha male. Jump scares are good, yada yada yada, next movie.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
I love this movie. It's pretty much the same as Chapter 2, but it's just a positive with none of the negative. One gripe though, Pennywise cannot run, too much jittering.
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
Now this is a good horror movie. Symbolism is top notch, and I love the racial commentary, and not only the main plot, but the little missable details. All the actors did an amazing job, and Rod is a surprisingly hilarious comic relief in an otherwise very serious movie. Also, that one guy runs like Earl from Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, so...
Just a second!
Spooky, scary skeletons and shivers down your spine.
You hear that? These simple horns perfectly portray everything this movie represents. These simple horns set the tone for one of the best horror films ever put to screen. So many people theorize about this movie and on its true message, but I think it's nothing more than a sinister force rising again to reincarnate the evil that destroys a man's insanity. This movie is a true masterpiece of film that is so masterfully crafted by the visionary director Stanley Kubrick, who brings everything down to the most minute details that I can't help but acknowledge it as the greatest horror movie ever created. Anyways, thanks for watching, and make sure you subscribe. And finally, this is Zachman, signing off.